Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Samantha Lee, and I'm on the Global Business Marketing team at Facebook. As our valued partners, we're excited to talk to you today about the Facebook Ads Auction. In this webinar, my colleague Amy Lee will provide an overview of how our ads auction works and share some tips on how to stay competitive in the ads auction. We'll close the webinar with a live Q&A. Before we get started, I want to share a couple of housekeeping tips. A recording of this webinar will be linked in the follow-up email that will be sent in a few days. If you have any questions during this webinar, please enter your question in the questions window of the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. We will try to get as many questions as we can at the end of this webinar. And with that, I'll kick it over to Amy.
Great, thank you, Sam. All right, hi everybody. I'm Amy and I work as a product marketing manager with the ads delivery team here at Facebook. So just to begin with some context about what the ads delivery team here does, I like to use an analogy to a very important system in most of our lives. So I like to think of the ads delivery system as kind of like the plumbing that connects advertisers and partners like you who provide a constant supply of clean and relevant and refreshing ads to the people using our platforms that will end up consuming them. It's the delivery team's job to make sure that these ads get delivered smoothly, efficiently, and predictably to the people that will find them the most valuable. And the ads auction is actually one of the most central parts of this ads delivery system. This auction system selects and then prices the ads that get shown to people across Facebook, Instagram, and publishers in the audience network. So we're excited to help advertisers and partners better understand how this system works so that they can ultimately drive more value with the ads they create. Our ads auction works differently than many other types of auctions you may be familiar with. We have over 1 billion people combined who are using Facebook, Instagram, and publishers in the audience network, and millions of advertisers who are trying to reach them every day. We run an auction every time someone comes to one of these platforms and is eligible to see an ad. So we're talking about tens of billions of auctions every single day. And if you divide that by the number of seconds in a day, that ends up being upwards of 100,000 auctions every second. So each time a person scrolls through their news feed, for example, we first have to find the ads that are targeted at him or her. And at any point in time, this could be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of ads. And then we need to pick the best one to show. We want to make sure that what's chosen should be an ad that the person will find interesting and relevant, because we want to make sure we're continuing to create a good consumer experience for them. We also want to make sure that that advertiser is reaching someone who will be valuable for them. And we need to make each of these billions of decisions within a small fraction of a second. At its core, our ads auction is designed to create the most value we can for both people using our platforms and businesses who are advertising with us. With every auction decision, we're trying to balance two fundamental goals. First, maximizing advertiser value. Second, creating the best experience we can for the consumers of our platform. We believe that if we can prove value every day for advertisers while also showing people relevant and useful and interesting content every time they use our platforms, we can grow both groups in the long term. Advertisers on Facebook have all different kinds of business goals and are setting up their ads on Facebook to optimize for many different types of outcomes and actions. So we need to find a way to compare all of these different types of optimization goals and bids on a single scale. So for example, imagine a scenario where you've got 3 different advertisers. Let's call them Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. So Alvin's optimizing for video views with his ad sets. Simon's optimizing for mobile app installs, and Theodore's optimizing for conversions on his website. Each of these guys are trying to show an ad to the same person, but we can only show that person one ad. So how do we figure out which ad to show? We need to convert all of these different types of bids for different actions into one flavor of bid, essentially. So we take how much they've said, how much each of these advertisers have said they value their specific optimization goal, and back out how much each impression we serve should be worth to them, to be able to calculate what we call an effective CPM bid for each advertiser. So it's pretty much an impression-based bid. Then we need to also factor in ad quality and relevance for this particular person who is going to see the ad to make sure that person's consumer experience is as good as good as it can be. So we end up calculating this number called a total value for each of the ads coming from these 3 advertisers. And to help clarify what we're talking through here, we'll use an equation. So for every ad targeting a person, regardless of what optimization goal it's been set to optimize for and what bid type we're using, we calculate what we call a total value number in order to rank it against other ads targeting that person. The ad with the highest total value is going to win the auction for that person at that moment in time. We calculate this total value number for each ad based on 3 things. The first is the advertiser bid for the outcome they've told us they care about. So that might be something like video views or website conversions or clicks, among many other possible outcomes. The second is estimated action rates. And you can think of this as, for every impression served, how likely do we think that the advertiser's desired outcome will occur? Now, these estimates are based on many, many factors, including what we know about the ad so far, what we know about the ad account, the campaign, the ad set, the page or app that's being promoted, and the person that we're considering showing the ad to. If we think that a person's more likely to take an advertiser's desired action on an ad, this will increase our estimated action rates for that individual, so that'll help this total value. One note that's specifically important for advertisers who are optimizing for website conversions or mobile app installs, and these are events that sort of occur less frequently than some of the other actions that you could optimize for on Facebook, like impressions or clicks. For optimization goals like website conversions or mobile app installs, we'll end up relying very heavily on the actual activity on the ad to be able to make estimates about who it will be good to continue showing that ad to. So it's a good idea to set up your ad such that it can capture at least a few of your desired actions every day. We'll talk about this in some more detail in the next section. The final component in this total value equation is ad relevance and quality. So how useful or interesting do we think that this individual is going to find content from each advertiser's ad? This is largely based on positive and negative feedback signals that we observe on the ad, as well as what we know about that person. So you've got 3 components, of the total value equation: advertiser bid, estimated action rates, and relevance and quality. And again, the first 2 components describe advertiser value in that kind of effective impression-based bid, and then the second component is geared towards maximizing the consumer experience. With these 3 individual components of total value, you can start to understand some implications for what makes an ad competitive. A very relevant ad for an individual with a low advertiser bid could still have a high total value for an individual. On the other hand, a very high advertiser bid paired with a low expected click-through rate or click-to-conversion rate, if that ad's being optimized for conversions, for example, could result in a low total value. So even though you're bidding very high, that ad still might not be very competitive. So the ad with the highest total value for that particular auction wins the auction for that person. And then we'll end up showing that person that winning ad. So far we've walked through how an ad actually wins a spot to be shown to a person in every auction we run. If your ad isn't showing as often as you'd like, then that means it's not winning enough of these individual auctions for people in your target audience. So you can drill down into each of those 3 components of total value that we reviewed when you think about the levers you have to improve performance. In this next section, we want to share some additional tips that you can keep in mind to improve delivery of your ads. Tip number 1. Actually, even before we talk about tip number 1, we should talk about sort of a tip number 0.5, and that's to select the right optimization goal for your ad set. That is, you'll usually get the best results for your campaign if you select the campaign objective and the ad set optimization goal that most closely align with your business objective. So if you want website conversions, place the Facebook pixel on your website and set up your ad sets to optimize for conversions instead of clicks, for example. If you optimize your ad sets for conversions, that means we'll try to show your ads to people who are more likely to convert on your website, not only click on your ad. And we have a lot of data that shows that in many cases, clicks and conversions aren't always correlated. And then tip number 1 would be set the right bid for that outcome you've selected. After setting your desired outcome that you want to drive with your ad, you've got 2 main options for setting your bid. The first is automatic bidding, where our ad auction system will adjust your bid on the back end to generate the most desired actions possible for you within your budget. Second option is manual bidding, where you're able to set the monetary value of your desired outcome. If you're using manual bidding, it's best to start with a bid that best represents how much you think you value each outcome or action you're optimizing for. For example, if you want website conversions and each conversion is worth $20 to you, start by bidding at least $20. Lower bids may reduce the number of people in your target audience who'll see your ad. We actually interpret your bid as the maximum price that you'd ever want to pay for the action you're optimizing for. And we'll only continue to deliver impressions if we think we can get you more actions at a price that's equal to or less than your bid. If delivery slows down or stops altogether, it's often because we think we can't find you more outcomes at the price you've specified by your bid. And if you're not getting the results in delivery that you want at a certain bid, increasing your bid may help you get more delivery. And again, if you don't have a specific monetary value for your desired outcome, you can consider using automatic bidding instead of manual bidding. Using automatic bidding can be especially useful if you have brand-focused optimization goals like video views or reach. Tip number 2 we have here is to determine the right budget for your ad set. To ensure smooth and ongoing delivery, we'd recommend that your daily ad set budget be at least equal to or greater than your bid. And if your ad sets are set up to optimize for conversions or mobile app installs, we'd recommend that your daily ad set budget should be many times greater than your bid. Here's a visual to illustrate why we make this recommendation. And first I'll say that if you're optimizing for website conversions or mobile app installs, our system will rely heavily on the number of conversions we're seeing that come through every day within 1 day of someone clicking on your ad. So that's kind of the key kind of metric to be keeping in mind, that 1 day post-click conversion rate. So say you're an advertiser optimizing for conversions, which you value at $5 each. So you set a bid of $5 for your ad set. Now, if you happen to also set a daily budget of $5 for that ad set, there are probably going to be some days where you see no conversions at all on that ad set. Some days you might be lucky and you get 1. But on most days, you'll see that our system observes your ad set getting 0 conversions, maybe 1, and our conversion rate predictions then will be pretty volatile and overall pretty low. This will translate into volatile delivery and possibly a slowdown or complete halt in delivery. That's if you have, you just barely have your daily ad set budget equaling your bid. If you're able to extend, however, that daily budget to something like $30, then you'll see you have the opportunity to capture many more of those $5 conversions on your ad set in a single day. Your observed conversion rates will be more stable. Our estimated conversion rates that we're using to calculate the total value for your ad for people in your target audience will be more stable. And delivery will then also be more stable. So that's why we recommend your daily budget to bid ratio should be higher rather than lower to the extent it's possible for you. And again, this is all very important if you're optimizing for those less frequent events like website conversions or app installs. And in general, be aware that splitting your total budget across too many individual ad sets might make it harder for your ads to deliver as much as you intend them to. Unless there's a clear reason to split up your ad set budget split up your total budget into many ad sets, often you'll be able to get better delivery by consolidating that budget and then using the same total budget amount across fewer ad sets. Tip number 3 is about choosing the right audience. So audience size does matter for delivery. In general, a broader audience will make it easier for us to find people to show your ads, so that helps delivery. But of course, relevance matters too, so you may not want to go too broad if your content isn't relevant to a really wide audience. So you can consider things like interest-based targeting or behavior-based targeting is available in our systems, custom audiences or lookalike audiences. Your target audience should also align with your ad's objective. So if you're looking for brand awareness, you may choose to use a broader audience. If you have direct response objectives, you may choose to use more specific audiences. But if you're not spending your desired budget, you can consider whether audience size or audience saturation may be a factor. Sometimes expanding your audience can really help if you find that your ad isn't delivering as often as you'd like. Tip number 4 is staying mindful about audience overlap across your ad sets. So when we talk about audience overlap, we're referring to setting up several ad sets to audiences that contain some of the same people. This isn't always a bad thing necessarily, but because the ad auction tries to avoid showing people too many ads from a single advertiser in a short period of time, audience overlap can sometimes explain why some of those ad sets might not be spending their full budgets. So be wary of setting up too many ad sets that are targeting the same audiences or targeting overlapping audiences, unless you have a really specific reason to do so. If under-delivery of some of these ad sets seems to be an issue, you might see better results by consolidating your ads into fewer ad sets with larger budgets each. Tip number 5 is select flexible placement options like Instagram and the Audience Network. So when you're optimizing for certain actions like video views or website conversions, website clicks, or mobile app installs, opting into more placements for your ads to show on can actually help lower your cost per outcome overall. It's important to note that a single auction and delivery system powers ads across Facebook, Instagram, and across publishers in the Audience Network. And so when there's an opportunity to show an ad to a person on any of these platforms, we run the auction in a really similar way. So opting into more placements can actually result in better overall delivery and performance for your ads. And here's an illustration of how placement optimization, again, opting into more placements, can help improve efficiency for your ads. This illustration we'll go through is just to show the benefit of opting into more placements, so I'd ask you not to draw any conclusions about relative costs, for example, by the diagram here. But say you begin by running an ad on Facebook and the Audience Network. You'll see some variance in your cost per outcome over the course of your campaign, some more expensive, some less expensive. You assume there's like some average cost throughout the course of your campaign. The same is true when you run a campaign on Instagram. You'll see some highs and lows that are available throughout the course of your campaign. When you opt into more placements, we're able to deliver impressions efficiently across the inventory of all of the placements that you opt into. And as your campaign runs, our system will try to get you the lowest cost per outcome wherever it's available on any placement. So this means when you opt into placement optimization, opt into more placements, your overall cost per outcome, if you're optimizing for video views, for website conversions, clicks, or mobile app installs, should be the same or lower than when you're running on individual placements separately. So tip number 6 is to improve your relevance to people in your target audience. That third part of the total value equation that we discussed was focused on this notion of ad relevance and ad quality. We consider an ad's relevance to a person when we evaluate the best ad to show that person at any point in time. And so you can use relevance score metrics in ads reporting to gauge whether your ad is likely to be relevant to people in your target audience compared to other advertisers targeting the same people. As part of your ad's relevance score, we're evaluating each ad for positive feedback, like clicks, likes, and shares, and negative feedback, like people hiding or reporting your ad. If your ad has little positive feedback or a lot of negative feedback, its delivery may be affected. So you can think about reviewing your ad's relevance metrics in ads reporting to understand how you're doing on relevance while your campaign is live. If you see that your relevance scores are low and you feel that that could be a factor in low delivery, you can try adjusting your targeting or creative so that your ads message is more relevant to the audiences you're targeting. And we do have some more resources on our Facebook for Business pages that provide many more tips on optimizing relevance to people in your target audience. And the last tip we'll share here is around delivery insights and how to understand how to improve your ads delivery using these insights. We just announced this week that within the next couple of months, we'll begin to introduce new insights into Ads Manager that are related to the delivery of your ads. These insights will begin to flag ad sets that are delivering less than their intended budgets, identify reasons why those ads might not be as competitive as they could be, and highlight specific recommendations that advertisers can take to improve delivery for those ads. So delivery insights will begin rolling out globally in Ads Manager soon, and eventually you'll be able to see these insights in the delivery column of the Ads Manager dashboard. So I'll leave you with a few key takeaways and then we can move into some Q&A. First, remember that at its core, Our ads auction at Facebook is built to maximize value for both advertisers and people using our platform. So as an advertiser, the more you can tell us via your optimization goal and your bid about the outcomes you truly value, the better we can do for you. Second, you can generally get the best results if your ads are optimizing for the outcome you care about, and if you start by setting a bid that describes how much you actually value that outcome. And the bid is just one of many levers that you can use to adjust your campaigns to get the delivery that you want. Third, we rank all ads that are eligible to be shown to a person with this number called the total value. The ad with the highest total value wins the auction for that individual. So as a recap, this total value is comprised of the bid for the outcome you've told us you care about, estimated action rates, or the estimated probability that that action that you've told us you want will occur with each impression served, plus ad quality and relevance factors for that individual. Finally, just a note here to keep testing and iterating. The ads auction is a dynamic marketplace with conditions and competition that are always changing. So the best performance over time will require continued iteration and testing. And now we'll open it up for questions. As a reminder, you can enter your question in the questions window of the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. Okay, the first question that we'll take is coming from Megan. Question is, you've talked a lot about direct response objectives. What about advertisers with branding objectives, and how should we think about setting up bids for things like reach or video views? So great question. If you're optimizing for things like reach or video views, you have two options. First is setting a manual bid using a specific monetary value, and then second is using automatic bidding, which will help us maximize your desired results using the budget you've set. So if you're especially sensitive about the cost per outcome you see, you might wish to start off with manual bidding. And then if you're not seeing much delivery with a certain bid that you enter, know that higher bids can usually help you win more auctions. And overall, your average costs are often lower than you put in as that bid. Our recommendation for branding objectives in general, especially if you have a specific budget allocation that you want to put against any of these optimization goals, is usually to set up your ad with automatic bidding. This will help us adjust your bid to be competitive for the people you've targeted and ultimately get you the most results, the most of your desired result with the budget that you specify. And next, question from Chen. Question is, there are many ways to look at conversion data and conversion rates in Facebook ads reporting. For example, you can customize the reporting to look at different attribution windows. When you say start by bidding your true value for a conversion, is there a specific attribution window we should be thinking about? Great question. So it's true that within ads reporting and looking at conversion numbers within our ads reporting, you can adjust that attribution window view by going to the performance columns button in the upper right-hand corner of the default Ads Manager view, going to Customize Columns, and then clicking on Change Attribution Window. There's like a light box that pops up. If you set your attribution window to 1 day after clicking on an ad, that will be the closest thing in ads reporting to what our system's actually using to make predictions about the conversion rates for your ads. So 1 day post-click conversions is the thing to keep in mind if you are optimizing for website conversions. Okay, and the next question is from Carlo. How does relevance score relate to the relevance and quality factor in the total value equation? Can you plug relevance score into the equation to figure out how your ad will perform? So relevance score, as it shows up in ads reporting, is a metric that describes how your ad is doing across all of the auction it's being considered in. So it'll look at the relevance for your ad across all of these many auctions compared to the relevance for ads from other advertisers competing in these same auctions. And it's basically a decile ranking of how you're doing with the people you're targeting compared to the other ads targeting the same people. In contrast, the total value calculation is a number we calculate each time we're trying to decide whether to show an ad to a person. So one relevance score, that's an aggregate metric. When we calculate the total value and have that relevance component there, that's a number for an auction for an individual. So those concepts are slightly different. But if your relevance scores and ads reporting are high, that's a pretty good indicator you're doing quite well on relevance for many of those individual total value calculations for people in your target audience. Next question from Harry. For the total value equation, can you talk more about what factors matter for estimated action rates, like conversion rates or click-through rates? So I mentioned before that we make these estimated action rate predictions because we need to figure out for every impression what the probability is that an advertiser's desired outcome will occur. So in general, we use a huge range of data points to come up with these estimates. Those data points include recent activity on the ad, which is super important specifically for conversion optimization, where your ad set is optimizing for website conversions and for mobile app installs. We'll also consider user characteristics like age and gender, how much a person likes to click on content in Facebook, their conversion history, ad set history, campaign and ad account history, history about the page or the app that is being promoted, as well as many other factors. But just want to note again that if you're optimizing for those less frequent actions like website conversions or mobile app installs, we will rely very heavily and primarily on that performance that we see on the ad itself. And you'll want to be trying to capture at least a few conversions each day on an ad set for it to continue delivering smoothly. There's a question from Paul. If I have a history of poor performance or negative feedback on my ads, will it help to create a new ad account to get quote unquote a fresh start? Will that help performance for my future ads? So it relates a little bit to this last question. We actually do consider a lot of data when we're coming up with those estimated action rates in order to decide who to show your ad to. And we're looking at data at the ad account level, but also data at the page level or app level if you're promoting an app. And then the most important activity is often activity on each new ad itself. So unless you also adjust your campaign tactics in other ways, for example, improving creative and targeting, creating a new ad account just for the performance benefit usually wouldn't make much of a difference in the long run. So it's not something we would recommend. Next question here is from Maurice. He wants to know, is there any limits to how many changes we should make to an ad each day? So every time you make edits to an ad set, for example, changes to your bid amount or your budget or targeting, it will take our system some time to relearn how many opportunities there will be to show ads to people in your audience that day. So if you make these types of changes very frequently, it might mean that your last change may not have had time to fully register in our system before the next change you put in. So you're sort of making changes and not seeing the full effects of those changes before making further optimizations. So we would recommend probably not making changes to your bid budget targeting more frequently than every 3 to 4 hours potentially, and ideally less frequently than that, so you can really get a better understanding of the effects of each adjustment that you make. Let's see here. The next question is from Lika. Can you explain more about why selecting the right optimization goal for my ad set makes a difference? So if you tell us that a certain action is important to you, like you say you want to optimize your ads for clicks when you don't really, even though you don't really want to maximize clicks, your business isn't really gold on clicks. Our auction makes it easier for you to show your ad to people who we think are the most likely to take that action. So here it's clicks. So if we see a person on Facebook who likes to click on a lot of Facebook content and they happen to fall within your target audience, we'll actually boost your ad's total value to make it easier for you to reach that person. So that means you might spend a fair amount of your budget reaching people who like to click on things because, within our system, we have a great understanding of who likes to click on content in their newsfeed. But if it turns out that you're actually more interested in sales on your website rather than clicks, then you probably will get better results if you choose to get your budget spent on people who are likely to convert on your website. Having a lot of your budget spent on people who like to just click things on Facebook may not be the best outcome for you, since those clicks may not have any bearing about whether those people will convert on your website. So if you choose to optimize your ad set instead for website conversions, we'll specifically try to show your ads to people more likely to convert, which would generally get you better results in terms of total conversions and average cost per conversion. Okay, question from Jacob here. If I start my campaign using automatic bidding just to see how that goes, and then want to switch to manual bidding, how would I figure out what manual bid to start using? One method here would be to look at the average one-day post-click cost per conversion, cost per action for your campaign using automatic bidding. Again, when you go to Ads Manager, you can go to Customize Columns, change that attribution window to 1 day after clicking on an ad. You can look at your average CPA with that attribution window and use that as a starting point for a manual bid. Again, you'll end up oftentimes paying less than the bid you set, so you may think about increasing your bid amount from there to make sure you're getting the performance and delivery volume that you want. Michael is asking, when I'm running ads that are optimized for website conversions, how many conversions are required before we can make good predictions for estimated action rates and before we can get consistent delivery? This is a great question. It's actually one we get very often. Although there's no absolute minimum conversion volume thresholds, with the way our systems work today, if you can shoot to capture at least 3 to 5 conversions a day on an ad set, that's usually a good starting point. More is always preferable in terms of helping us make even better predictions and more consistent delivery for your ad, but that should be a good baseline. Okay, and then we'll take one more question, and this one's from Steven. What counts as negative feedback when we look at relevance score metrics? Does that include negative comments from people on our posts? Good question, also one we receive quite often. So negative feedback, the answer is no. It does not include negative comments on posts. Today, that negative feedback signal or score is composed mostly based on the number of times people are hiding your ad. And they have this option if they click on the upper right corner of an ad, and there's like a hide ad option. Okay, so thanks very much for these questions. With that, I'll hand the mic back to Sam.
Okay. Thank you, Amy, and thanks to everyone for joining the webinar. We hope that you're able to take away some of the actionable tips that will make your ads more competitive across Facebook, Instagram, and the Audience Network. We'll be sending out links for more information on these tips we covered today, as well as a recording of today's session. Let us know what you thought about the webinar by completing our survey that'll be included in your follow-up email. Your input is valuable to us and will make future webinars better. Thanks again, and see you next time.